morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses on a glorious Wednesday here at Belmont Park. Temperatures in the 60s, a little bit of a breeze, but it's a very nice day. Unfortunately, we had some rain overnight. We are off the turf in our 3 scheduled turf races today. Those races being 4, 7, and 8. David Aragona and I will be discussing those. Of course, David works the Daily Racing Forum, discussing those in just a few moments. The track is currently listed as muddy, but it's harrowed, and given the weather out here, I think it's highly likely. I mean, keep in mind we are an hour and a half away from post time, so it's pretty likely to be good by post time, if not even fast a little bit later in the day, but we'll see how things go. But given the weather and a little bit of a breeze, things should be drying out. You know the drill. Head over to NYRABets.com if you're not a member of NYRABets. No better time than the present. Promo code is fall19. Bet 200, get 200. The new member bonus. You can enjoy the many wonderful things that NYRABets has to offer. 20 times points on the Empire 6 on Wednesdays here at Belmont. Of course, this is the final Wednesday here at Belmont. This is the last week. Come out and enjoy the racing here. We're drawing that Saturday card shortly, actually, and Maximum Security, who finished first in the Kentucky Derby and one of the leading 3-year-olds in the country and sort of one of the biggest story horses of the year. He's scheduled to run Saturday in our Bold Ruler, and looking, I don't know who's going to run, but looking at the nominations, it could be a pretty interesting race. So looking forward to that. 3 stakes on Saturday as well in total. I believe 3 stakes. Anyhow, Apple Pay, available to deposit money. It's fast, it's easy, and it's secure, and it's now available through NYRABets.com/Apple Pay. David, what's going on?
Not too much. Last week at Belmont.
Yeah.
It's kind of just flown by. You get back from Saratoga, and the Belmont meet just seems so short.
Well, you're in a coma for about
I know, it's like
minutes, so it makes it a lot easier
you wake up again in October.
Right.
Yeah, no, I can't believe we're going to Aqueduct for a long stretch after this weekend, but Breeders' Cup's right around the corner. It's an exciting time of year. I think those pre-entries are coming out today,
yeah.
So I'll take a look at those later.
Looking forward to digging those on Daily Racing Forum, obviously, and looking forward to looking at those. Be taping my annual Breeders' Cup preview videos or my handicapping videos. Plan to tape them next Thursday on Halloween. They should be out by the afternoon for all 14 of the Breeders' Cup races, and looking forward to seeing those races as well as they start to firm up. We'll see. We'll see how things play out. And obviously, at this point, the race of the day appears to be the sprint. I mean, they should move. They should. So if it was NYRA, the Classic would be the 3rd race, and the sprint would be the feature, I think.
I'm pleased to see that so many Horses Connections are running in the right race, the sprint, rather than taking the path of least resistance and trying to get a $1 million purse in the dirt mile in a race that just doesn't really mean that much in terms of Eclipse Award voting. And the horses that have a chance of being champion sprinter are running in the sprint, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, I saw what I thought was a very interesting tweet from my friend Paul Matisse, who's one of the sharper guys in racing, and I thought he made some very valid points about Omaha Beach running in the mile as opposed to the Classic, and talking about how it's a $6 million purse and it's only a quarter mile more and post positions don't really matter. And I thought Paul was making a lot of good cases, and I understand, listen, it's Richard Mandela, and 6 furlongs to a mile and a quarter is not easy, but if there ever was a year to try it, this was the year.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one horse that I can forgive for running in the dirt mile because it's such an unusual preparation. It's it's such a drastic stretch out from 6 furlongs to a mile and a quarter. And I mean, if he thinks he's not fit enough to go the mile and a quarter, I guess you have to trust the trainer. And
I agree, especially Richard Mandela. Yeah. I agree. I just think it's a reasonable food for thought.
I agree with that.
And so we'll see how those things play out. Obviously, those Breeders' Cup coming out later today. Race number 1. It's 6 furlongs. I know you and I disagreed a lot today, which is always fun, and I'm sorry they came off the turf, and looking forward to talking about those races. I don't feel as though I have super strong opinions all day long, and I don't disagree with you. The horse we'll take a look at here, Movie Score, winning last time against a very subpar field and claimed out of that race by Rob Atras, who's got some pretty strong numbers off the claim of his last year, and that's really when he's gone out on his own. I thought she ran well, and this was a day that you did not want to be. You wanted to be on the inside, and that very much benefited the horse who finished 2nd here. So I would upgrade her performance a little bit because of her placement on the racetrack.
I agree with that. I mean, she was 1-2 this day. It was a totally uncompetitive field. This is actually a much tougher spot, but you're completely right about the rail probably being the place to be that day, and she was never on it. A mile is probably too far for her anyway, so I'm not really concerned that she got a little tired at the end of that race. And I just think that she has a slight chance to move up off the claim because I trusted her a little bit more than the other 2, though I would probably go 3 deep in the first leg of this pick 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Citizen Matza is a supremely logical horse in this race.
Yeah, not trustworthy, but logical.
Absolutely, 100%. That's the concern with her.
Yeah.
She's completely untrustworthy. But the reality is that if she runs back to her 2 dirt races, She's probably going to win this race, and I don't think you're going to
yeah.
argue against that.
No, I mean, 3 of her 4 dirt races make her fast enough to win this.
Right.
And you just have to be a little concerned about the fact that she was basically eased last time, just did no running. I mean, she actually ran pretty well too back. It's just the last race that was terrible. And
she was chasing the pace going a mile. I know the pace held together, but I don't disagree. And when you couple that with the fact she's dropping in for 14, I mean, this is a please claim me, and they're certainly going to claim her out of this race.
It's not like she's one of these turf horses that has no dirt form, so they could run her over the winter. It's it's just a bit of a negative drop, although, as you said, she's got the races that can beat this field.
Yeah, no, I agree with all those things. I don't mind putting her on top because she's not going to be favored, and obviously the odds are going to change considerably from where they are now.
Yeah.
Now, First Forever, I do think that one of the reasons that she's taking early money, and keep in mind there's obviously very little money in the pools, is a perception of a wet track will help her. Well, yes, there will be moisture in the track. She probably is a little better on a wet track, but if she is, what's her excuse for her last brutal performance?
I mean, I guess you could just say it was the 7 furlongs because she is a horse that just seems to get very leg weary at the end of her races. And it looked like she was getting a good trip last time. I actually liked her in that race. Jose Lozcano did everything right. He sent her to the front.
Nice pick.
Yeah, no, right? I should really
I am proud of you for admitting that you liked her last time.
Yeah, no, he did everything right, got her to the lead, moderate pace, and she just fell apart. Now she's turning back to the 6 against a much softer field because those New York bred open claimers are much tougher spots.
She's not getting the lead.
No.
But she doesn't need the lead to win.
Yeah, Evans Nice now is pretty fast.
And the thing about her is her wins are very, very much dressed up by circumstance. And obviously she can win the race. Neither of us are going to tell you they can't. As you said, the top 3 look like the right 3 in this race. But frankly, I mean, one thing you and I firmly agree on, she's the one you want third.
Yeah, the other 2 have just slightly better races, in my opinion.
And Evans Nice now looks like the speed, but she's a little tough to take after last time being down on the inside. And Sister Emily is another one on the outside who took advantage of a good rail last time.
Yeah, I mean, Evans Nice now and First Forever are kind of similar in the fact that they both just kind of fall apart at the end of their races.
Yep, we'll see how things play out in race number 1. Race number 2. Race number 2, I had every single race, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I had made picks for every race, all 25 of them, because there's 9 on Friday. Well, I say 24 to 25 before I do this one, because honestly, I laugh when I saw that you've got him 4th. I have him 45th. Mike Beer likes Horoscopo. He was Horoscopo and Nona and Wisecrack were the only horses that I looked at and said, I can't play those horses.
Yeah, the only horses I didn't want to play were No, Brock the Bank, and Wisecrack, probably. I consider the 6 others.
Well, here's one thing I'd say about Brock the Bank when I originally looked at it. You could argue the only time he didn't run badly was on a dry track. Now, as it turns out, he gets moisture in the track again, another excuse. But I think that was a bit of an angle with him.
I will say, if you follow the DRF Clocker reports, and they're doing them still for this Belmont meet, I think this is the first horse who I ever have seen be assigned an F rating for a workout. So that's not a good sign coming off the layoff. Wow. But he's got that first race that makes him competitive. But I mean, the horse that's probably favored in this spot is Loaded Joe, because he's got all of these speed figures that make him very competitive. I just feel like he's going to be a pretty short price just because people are confused by the race, and I don't love his dirt races.
Well, I started by looking at the horses that I thought would be the better prices and trying to decide if I could make enough of a case for any of them. And I agree, the horse that I picked is on shaky ground. I'm not going to. I actually thought you might like him more because he's got.
I picked him last time.
Your kind of idiotic look too. He's Aragona off. Yeah, I agree about Loaded Joe. You know, you've got him 2nd, I've got him 3rd. Well, can he win? Yeah. I don't love that Rob Atras tried him on the turf right away. I know he's got some decent turf races. Probably not a bad effort, but he's supposed to run better than that in the turf, frankly. What was his big excuse last time on the turf?
He's probably run equally well on the turf and the dirt. Maybe he just didn't get the 7 furlongs last time. I don't know. But he's
almost gotten a mile on the turf, so why should he have a problem with 7 furlongs?
No, I agree with that. This is a much easier spot. I don't want to gloss over that because his 2 prior dirt efforts came against Maiden Special Weight Company, albeit California breds, but still Maiden Special Weight Company earning speed figures that would probably beat this field. He's the horse to beat, just at a very short price. I thought there were a lot of other options.
Yeah, I'm a little dubious. Another horse I'm dubious, the horse you have 3rd, and that's the 8 Treeman Demon, and we'll take a look at his last race finishing 2nd. I know Smidge came back to finish 2nd in an off-the-turf race. And I know that Smidge may have benefited a little bit from the racetrack in this race. But I can't excuse this last race. I'm going to show you the numbers for Kentamaki, turning horses back. And listen, I think the guy does a great job here. His horses have been running.
Does.
And his numbers in sprints overall are much better than they are in routes. And that's one of the reasons that I found his turn back numbers surprising. Because a trainer whose sprint numbers are better, the turn back numbers are not good.
It's interesting.
And I'm just not a huge fan. Shouldn't he have won last time?
He should have, especially because if you watch the early part of that race, he was actually following Smidge around the racetrack, riding the rail the entire way. And it wasn't a huge rail bias, but you probably are better off inside that day. He just came off the rail for the stretch and just couldn't close any ground on Smidge, who, as you said, came back to run okay, but he's still not that great. And I have a feeling this horse is going to take a lot of money today because they're going to see the switch from Reyes to Irad Ortiz. Those rider switches always take a lot of money. And I agree. I just haven't seen him do a whole lot of running.
Right, and I don't know what Irad could have done that Lee Reyes didn't do last time. I think Irad would even say, I'd be lucky to give this horse as good a ride as Louis gave him last time. So I'm not saying he can't win, because a lot of horses can win in this race, and I understand. And I think, we talk about it with Formulator. One of the great things about Formulator is being able to look at competition PPs. If you like Dreamin' Demon, just make sure you're familiar with Smidge's PPs before you jump in and make a bet on this horse. You have Cobble Hill on top, and I'm just not sure this horse has anything left in the tank.
I'm not. This is no strong endorsement of Cobble Hill. I was just sort of crossing horses off one by one and eliminating them, and I was left with him. And I said to myself, well, can I make excuses for his last two races? Two back, he was facing basically a stakes field. I mean, Free Enterprise is probably a horse that's bound for stakes races. Even the runner-up, Soam Sound, is he ran, I think, a 96 or 97 buyer that day. He's very good. And Dylan Davis, once he was beaten, he just wrapped up on this horse, beaten by 44 lengths. It should have just said ease because he walked across the finish line. He didn't try that day. He doesn't have to be a turf horse, even though he ran.
But his turf race is so much better than his
Yeah,
last
I know.
race.
And
I'm not saying I understand, but geez, I mean, I'll put it this way. I could take everything if he didn't have his last turf race, I have no argument about your dirt thing. But then he comes back and he's just atrocious.
And he had run better on it for Pletcher.
He could have lost by 7 lengths. It wouldn't have been a good effort.
Yeah.
But he was virtually easy. And I just wonder if Bruce Brown's just thinking, gosh, this was just a bad climb.
I know. I'm just saying it wasn't that long ago that August 15th was just 2 months ago that he ran that race that would definitely beat this field behind sneakiness. Maybe things have gone wrong since then. The fact that they're running back in 7 days, maybe not a good sign. I don't love him. I just put him on top.
Listen, I mean, once again, he can win this race.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a question. I think it really comes down to in this race where you want to put your eggs. Where you want to play. And with single focus, obviously he hasn't run well in his races. He's not a turf horse, despite you hoping he was. So we can dismiss his last race. At least the time before he got involved in the pace. Now, he was dueling down inside. I thought the rail was good, but it was no particular edge that day. It was a fair racetrack. But at least he showed some life going the mile that day to suggest he can run a little bit. And now he's taking a significant drop and running this field. And more importantly, he's going to be 6 to 10 to 1 in this race. He could even be higher. Who knows? And I just thought, you know what? He hasn't completely and totally exposed himself.
No, I agree with that.
He may just stink. So.
Yeah, I liked him on the turf last time. He didn't do any running that day. No. He's reportedly worked well in the past and hasn't run to those works. I wonder if he's not really a horse that's suited for racing because he's a one-eyed horse, hence the name. There
have been a lot of good one-eyed horses.
There have been. We'll see. I considered him again. I just didn't want to pick him after taking him last time.
What about Larceny, the number 6 horse? I've got him second. You've got him nowhere. But I mean, he may not be able to run at all anymore either, and it's sort of weird that Kieran only ran him on the turf, but he does have dirt races that can win this race.
Yeah.
He's run against, significantly better. It's just his last dirt race was atrocious.
Yeah, his last dirt race was terrible. He had run against better horses in prior starts, but hadn't run well. It was weird they went to the turf in the first place at all because he doesn't really have a turf pedigree.
It's his tail of the cat.
Yeah, now they're just trying to find an easier spot for him. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to try to be a little goofier at some prices in here. But, I mean, I thought this was actually this is one of the more interesting 20s because there's a lot going on in this race. It may turn out there's really nothing going on in this race, and horses like the 4 and 8 will run 1-2. But I got to have a feeling that there are enough sort of fuzzies, whether it's the 9 or the 7 or the 6, that one of those horses can mix things up a little bit. Race number 3, I got to tell you, and I don't think the scratches really mattered here. They didn't seem to be major players in here. I struggled, and you can see who I picked. I went, and by the way, a little moist the track's not going to hurt my horse in here.
Not at all.
I don't know what to do in this race, but you have to start out. We'll show you one River Place, two back, last race in New York back in February. He is the horse you have to talk about. He's obviously the speed of this race. It's a very strange spot for a comeback race.
I mean, the drop in class is one thing. I mean, you never know what you're going to get with a horse coming off a layoff. But the fact that they're running him at a mile and a 16th is bizarre because he never has looked like a router in the past. He's just gone the mile that one time, and he faded badly that day. Are they just running him in this spot because it came up and they want to run him for a cheap tag and they're not expecting much?
Two-bar shoes on?
Yeah, two-bar shoes on.
Oh, Stabile would be. How annoyed is Anthony doesn't get to be on the
he
show
would hate this
for
horse.
two-bar shoes?
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, you have to admit, and you see the stat number for Rudy, 5 months to 10 months. They're horrible numbers.
Yeah.
He looks so bad, he probably can't lose.
I know, right? It just like I saw this horse and I was like, well, we're both going to be against this horse because there are just so many red flags here. Can he win? Sure, because he's got speed figures to make him competitive.
And he's alone speed.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be much of a pace.
I sent him the pace projector for this race. He's supposed to be well in front because he's just faster than a horse like Armament early. I just don't trust him.
He is a very, very, very hard horse to trust. The problem, it's funny because I immediately got to him like you, and I said, okay, I'm going to be probably playing against this horse. Yeah. But it didn't really make things a lot easier for me.
No, because there are so many options.
Right. I mean, we'll look at another replay. We'll look at Armament winning two back at Saratoga. And there is no question that Armament can win. And it's going to be up to Declan Carroll to get him into the race. I don't think he's faster than Neighborhood Bully, and I don't think he's faster than a few horses here, and that's the thing. This race was just a terrific ride by Irad, putting him on the front end at a very moderate pace at Saratoga on opening day. This was opening day at Saratoga. It's amazing, almost 4 months ago now. And it's just a different situation. And he's dropping significantly off the claim. Obviously, he can win.
Yeah. That was actually the first race of the meet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was, yeah.
What,
I picked him second. I was so annoyed I didn't pick him on top.
What bothers me about this horse is that so he was a turf synth horse for almost his entire career, and then they tried dirt with him. The only 2 times he's been successful on dirt, he has set ridiculously slow paces, just walked on the lead and ran away from those fields. I don't know if he's a horse that can take some kickback or can come from off the pace.
Couldn't last time.
Yeah, no, he's a little dicey. I will say I looked up this stat for Chris Engelhardt. I didn't send it in because it's just a 2-horse sample.
2 of 7.
But, yeah, first off the claim, 50% drop on the dirt. He's 2 for 2.
Okay. Well, how about stretching on the dirt off the claim at Naira? He's 2 for 7 with a 255 ROI and 5 hitting the board. His horse could easily win the race, but
totally.
as you say, he's not going to be much of a price, and he might be the most logical alternative to the favorite, and he's very untrustworthy, as is Neighborhood Bully in here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't trust Neighborhood Bully at all, but he could win.
So you've got a few horses coming out of that August 30th race, and I just took Peter's Project out of that race because the one problem with him going back to when he's come to New York in the past that he hasn't run well in the Naira circuit. Well, he ran well in the Naira circuit too back for Jeffrey Engelhardt, who seems to have gotten him back into his best form. And people might look at that last race at Penn National and say, oh, well, that's a bad sign. Watch that race because he just did not get the right trip that day. There was a horse racing outside of him who became extremely rank, and his rider was having a lot of trouble controlling that horse, and he just sort of let him go on the backstretch, and he totally cut off Peter's Project, forced him to be shuffled to the back of the pack. He had no chance to close after that. Ignore that last race, and he just looks really logical in here.
Well, I mean, if you use that trouble that you're talking about, which is totally legitimate, his figure suddenly gets into the mid to high 70s.
Yeah.
Now, it was Penn National, where who knows what goes on over there, because we rarely see that form get transferred here.
Yes.
But he has form in New York to back it up.
Yeah, I mean, Cow by Rhythm and Karamani, I'd say arguably they'd be pretty tough in this race.
Yeah, it's funny. I put him fourth, and when I was reading what you said about him last night, I was looking through your rundown. I thought, you make a very legitimate case for him, and there are a lot of good points in there. I mean, how can you, Sir Ballantyne? Now, keep in mind, didn't he run here on Sunday?
Yeah. No, it was Saturday or Friday.
Oh, was it Friday?
18th.
You're right. He ran on Friday. I have it written down, but he ran. I don't have it in my PPs because I printed these on
But
Friday.
he's not really a routing type.
And his form has eluded him. So, okay, River of Dreams. My feeling with River of Dreams is every now and again he runs.
Yep.
And in the meantime, it's not as though he's running figs that don't give him a chance in this race. And I thought there was a reasonable chance he'd get a little bit of moisture in the track because there was some rain predicted. And do I love him? Absolutely not. But I kept going through and kept saying, I can't take this one at a short price. I can't take that one. River of Dreams does run figures that put him in the ballpark. Maybe today's the day he shows up. I'm going to use him at a price. I'm not going to make a strong case for him. It is very much an anti-play.
I'm not going to argue with it. He's a very hard horse to get right because, as you were saying, he does run well sometimes, and he's often big prices because his form will turn around on a dime. I mean, when he wanted 14-1 that day at Aqueduct, I was kicking myself because he made sense and he was a crazy overlay that day, and maybe he will be again today.
Yeah, I'm not in love with him, but I think he's at least within range of the players in this race, and his price is going to be good enough that I don't mind taking at least a small shot with him. We'll see. The truth of the second and third races, they're tricky, interesting races. I think that initially you look at them and go, it's sort of like, not particularly high-level races. And they're like this race, if the 3 wins out at River Place, I'll lose.
Yeah.
And after that, it's very tough. Now, race number 4 off the turf, I was shocked that Mike Maselli scratched Canarsie Angel. That was my first thing. I know he probably wants to run the turf.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the horse wouldn't have been favored off of that last race, or very close to being
facing a
favored.
much better field last time.
I agree, and what ends up happening is you just don't really have anywhere to go. You've sort of taken a shot. You were going to take a shot. Were you going to take a shot with Time of Shift on the turf?
No, I picked another first-time turf for the 11 for Tom Morley. Yeah, on the dirt. I mean, look, this is just a play against Grudge, who was meant for the turf and might be a turf horse. I mean, well, we'll see. And
isn't he just going to be gone in here?
Yes, she's got to get the 7 furlongs though.
No,
I
know.
I
know.
It's kind of funny that she's by Palace Malice because she ran like Palace Malice in the Derby in that debut. Just with the blinkers on, she just ran off.
Don't you think that was a prep? It just felt like an out and out that she needed a race and they just blasted off with her.
Maybe, I don't know. To me, it's weird that John Service bringing a horse to New York to run on the turf says to me they really wanted to get this horse on the turf.
Fair.
We'll see. She's got a little bit.
She's a New York bred.
Yeah. She's a half to Indian soldier, so she's got a little bit of dirt pedigree.
Right.
The horse I was mostly against was Speightstown Gal, though, the first-time starter, because this really is more of a turf pedigree. Cairo Prince has proven to be mostly a turf sire. The dam was all turf synth. There's a little dirt on the second generation, but this seems like one that was meant for turf. She might be working well, and maybe she doesn't have to be much.
I mean, the problem with this race is outside of the 3 and 10, I mean, you're talking about Bella Invasion, and I know you like to pick Randy Persaud, but he's a little tough or she's a little tough. Keep It. I mean, where are you going with Keep It? I'll tell you what horse surprised me. She came out. My friend Kirk Wyckoff was surprise arrival.
Yeah.
I thought she was a serious player in this race.
Been,
I actually picked her second in this race.
She would have been a pace presence at the very least. Yeah, I put Time Shift on top just because she was green in her debut. She was climbing on the backstretch. Didn't look like she knew what she was doing. That's a race that came up extremely slow. I'm not sure it's actually quite as slow as it came up. And she did no running that day, but she's a Union Rag. She's supposed to be more of a dirt horse, not a turf horse.
She gets a rider switch to Luis Saez for this race, I think, too. So I can't argue. I had her third. I mean, I can't go anywhere else in this race, so I don't mind using her and throwing her in. Well, I think if you can find a way to navigate this early pick 5, this is not an easy early pick 5. We'll finish it up with the 5th race after we take a quick break.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up at NairaBets.com for a new member bonus.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. David Aragona for the Daily Racing Forum, Andy Serling, New York Racing Association. Once again, we are off the turf. Track is currently listed as muddy, but it is harrowed. It's a beautiful day out here. It really is nice, actually.
Yeah, it really is.
The breeze is also behind us a little bit, so it's actually not a problem up here in the set, which is always good because it can be a little windy up here. Race number 5 is a very, very strong-looking maiden race. And listen, Bellavia is going to take a lot of beating. We'll take a look at Bellavia's race last time out. This was actually one of the few tips that I had the entire Saratoga meet. I'm going to tell you, it's possible this is like the only actual tip I got, and it was a great one. because he ended up running second here to Stumbling Sky. Stumbling Sky, was an Asmussen firster?
Yes, he debuted the same day as Godzilla. I thought this was actually the stronger race.
I agree.
And he has not run back since, although Famish, the third place finisher, did come back to win.
He didn't improve his Beyer, though, when he won.
No, but that Kieran horse that came back and won at a mile here on opening weekend, he also comes out
another one of those.
I forget his name.
I think he ran in.
He ran the Breeders'
Keeneland,
Futurity.
Yeah.
I don't think he ran that
He
well.
didn't run terrible.
Okay, yeah, he was not disgraced. But Bellavia, I'm not sure how you say this name. This is a horse that was touted in Saratoga. I was actually shocked that he went off at 22-1 because it seemed like everybody knew this horse could run.
Everybody had a tip when I came to track, and I think I said to Anthony, I got a little story, and he said, oh yeah, everybody knows about this horse.
Yeah.
And it was weird, and he ran, and he's a private purchase since the race. Yep. I'm not going to try to beat this horse.
Yeah, and it's not like this horse has no pedigree. He's bred to be a good one. Is a half to Live Lively, who was a good horse for Mark Hennig. The dam is actually half to Matoli, so this horse has the pedigree to be a nice sprinter.
How about his work the other day, by the way?
Yeah, I saw that. He looks ready to go.
Listen, I think that the two contenders, major horse of the year, is between Bricks and Mortar and Matoli. In my opinion, if they both win on the Breeders' Cup.
I think there are a lot of scenarios that could play out depending on how these races shake out. Midnight Bisu's not out of it either. Horses would have to lose, but it's possible.
Yeah, listen, she's had a terrific year.
Yeah.
I couldn't vote for her for Horse of the Year, but she has had a terrific year.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And given the absence of legitimate candidates this year, she is clearly the third choice.
Totally.
I will not argue with that. It just seems like, Matoli has done everything you want a horse to do. And the other thing I love about Matoli, not to get too off the beaten of the path, but I love reading people saying, well, he's never really beaten anybody at 6 furlongs. When he stretched out to 7 furlongs at Churchill, everybody said, well, I don't know if this horse could get 7 furlongs. And it's like, he could get 6 furlongs.
Yes, he's versatile, he's dangerous, he's won the big races.
He draws inside, it's a problem, though.
Yeah.
He needs an outside draw. Anyway, I'm not trying to beat this horse.
Neither am I. I don't really care that he's got the entry made in here for Pletcher. To me, that horse, the fact that he's entered as an entry with this horse that looks with Bellavia is probably not a great sign for the first-time starter, but I don't really care about that. This horse is going to be a favorite.
Somewhere.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to beat him either, although there are some firsters and horses that have run that look somewhat interesting.
Well, let's talk about 16 tons.
Yes.
Who you've got second, and I scratched into for third. And you don't have a particularly good stat, I think, for this horse.
No.
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought he was okay last time out. The winner did look very good. The winner also didn't break and rushed up. I think was there a big OXO favorite in this race? There was some big favorite in this race that didn't run.
There was a Chad horse that was not favored, but, Candy Tycoon was the big favorite in that race.
Oh, yeah, the Todd Pletcher horse that
yeah.
had the trip in Saratoga that did not run well. I just thought this race was okay. And you've got it's not a bad stat, but it suggests that they're not really running back to their first starts.
I just sent it in because I think it's a stat that people would expect him to do well with, and it's just one of the rare bad Brad Cox stats.
Wasn't bet first time either.
No, he wasn't, although, as you were saying, there was a heavy favorite in that race. Even the winner, though, was bet a little bit in that part of that entry, the Tom Abertrani winner. I thought he ran well, though, 16 tons. He was staying on pretty decently at the end. He's a half to 6 to Sipacan Harbor, the spin-away winner.
Is that good or bad?
She was okay for a brief period of time.
10 minutes.
Yeah, I just put him second, a long way behind Bellavia, because I wasn't thrilled with the other horses with experience.
Well, I want to talk about Default Rate, a horse who got DQ'd with a 57 Beyer. We'll take a look. And this was I didn't think this was a horrendous call.
No.
I know I talked to Anthony about it, Stabile, and he thought it was not a good call. I don't think the horse should have come down because I don't think anybody benefited from it because the horse that he may have fouled was finishing fourth regardless. So it was a poor DQ for the bettors, which is never a good thing. This is a race that if you start looking at others out of the race, they're better than the figure suggested. Some horses, if not all of them, but some horses were better before it and some horses came back and ran better. So I'm not convinced that race isn't better than the 57 Beyer. You look very dubious.
I don't know. I frankly didn't see that at all. I know the one Tim Hill's horse came back and ran better against a very weak field here. Another horse did well on the turf.
Well, the eighth horse ran 32 Beyer points faster.
Yeah, that was the Tim Hill's horse.
Was that the horse? Okay,
yeah.
There was another horse that finished sixth that went from a 27 Beyer to a 56 Beyer. So there were a couple of
I
horses.
thought that one was on the turf.
I don't think so, but maybe
okay.
I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, I didn't see a whole lot in that race. And my problem with this horse is, if he was coming in from Monmouth for a different trainer, he'd be 10-1 in here, and he's going to be half that price or less just because he's trained by Chad Brown.
I agree. He's going to be, but I think people will still see the 57 buyer and looking at the favorite. I think he's going to run better than that figure suggests. I'm not, in love with this horse. You obviously
He's
don't
also
like
got
him at
that
all.
curse of horses that get DQ'd out of maiden wins. They never come back and win their next starts. As for the firsters in here,
There was a horse that got DQ'd late in the meet in Saratoga. It was a Tommy Albertrani first-time start my friend Pete Minikis owned. And it was a terrible DQ. It was early when I first started working here. I remember Bayer made a speech about it on the show and left Saratoga. We all got taken down for a lot of money. I had a big tip on it. And one word name, I think it started with a P. And that horse did come back actually and break its maiden the next time. But that's what
well, I mean, that one the other day. Remember when Roy Lerman sent out that 2-year-old debut winner 2 years ago that ran here the other day? Is still a maiden after 2 years.
Yeah, I actually had the exacta, but I bet a few dollars to win on that horse. I was thinking the same thing when that horse ran the other day. Anyhow, first-time starters, go ahead.
Yeah, as for the firsters, we'll see what we get. A life on the top for Jimmy Jerkins. Training okay. The dam's a half to hard spun. His firsters often need a start, though, so we'll see. Moon over Miami, the number 9 horse for Bill Mott, supposedly working well. The dam herself was more of a turf horse. Second generation, more dirt route. It's the family.
Looks like distance.
Yeah, it's the family of Music Note, that Godolphin, Alabama, or runner-up. I think she won the Mother Goose.
It just looks like a classic Bill Mott horse that we're probably going to like on the mile at Aqueduct next time out.
Weird to me that John Velasquez is riding Liam's Fire for Gary Contessa with 2 Todd Pletcher horses in here. That just seemed really bizarre to me. I like this horse's 2-year-old sales workout, but we'll see.
And the horse really has the horse is a half to 4 horse that can't run
pedigree
at all. And the one thing I'll say about Johnny is Johnny's been at Keeneland a lot. I don't know if that was the thing, and maybe, it just didn't know if he'd be here. And so I don't really know the story, but I did notice that Johnny was riding as well. Good maiden race number 5, but Belavia is going to take a lot of beating here. Thought race number 6 was a fascinating race. And we'll start with the horse you and I both have second, and the morning line favorite behind the couch. I don't have a knock on this horse. I think she is very much the horse to beat. I just wanted to try to beat her.
Yeah, I remember reading what the issue was. I think Jeremiah Engelhardt mentioned that she had something go wrong last time.
She definitely had something go wrong.
Yeah, no,
I don't know what it was.
I'm forgetting what it was now. I was going to say it, and I just don't remember. But obviously, things went awry in her last start. She's worked well since that race. So, and the fact that they're running her back on relatively short rest, just 2 months off, I think that's a good sign for how she's going to do today. Jeremiah Engelhardt has great numbers with turnbacks in general. I think she might actually even be better going shorter distances. Behind the couch is just the horse to beat.
Yeah, I don't have any knock on her whatsoever. I think she's very logical. I want to look at the pace projector for this race before we show a couple of other replays, because you and I both like horses that are going to be forward.
Yes.
My feeling with Moon Heist is probably going to be in front. I think maybe a little more than the pace projector says. I don't think your 7 is going to be compromised, and I think she's dangerous as well. And some people are going to say, well, she hasn't run well in sloppy sealed tracks. Even if this track is listed as good at that point, there's no comparison between those tracks and sloppy sealed tracks. And the one time she's been able to get loose, granted it was a horrendous field and the favorite wheeled at the start.
Yes.
She ran a race that gives her a chance in here. And I'm just thinking, you know what? She doesn't look good on paper. She chased outside a good rail last time out where the speed wired the field. I want to give her a chance to wire the field. I don't love her, but I think she's a little interesting here at a price.
Yeah, I'm not going to criticize her, really, because she's a big price in here. I didn't see it. I thought I was going to pick She Takes Charge in this race, because you might remember She Takes Charge is that horse that comes out of that December maiden race at Aqueduct where the speed figure is a 59, but every horse that's come back out of that race has run 20 points faster. I mean, I just forgot
about that.
I just wrote down the Timeform US speed figure, so that we gave her a Timeform US speed figure of 75. The 11 horses that have come back out of that race that finished behind her, one regressed, but the 10 others improved by anywhere from 10 to 47 points. The average improvement, including the horse that regressed, was 23 points. She went a mile in her next start, didn't get the mile that day. I'm not going to hold that against her.
Now she's off 9 months.
Now she's off 9 months. Something went wrong, but she's been working well for this return. She's got that 46 workout 3 back. I think this horse is a lot better than she looks.
Listen, you make, and the other thing you could say is even with routine improvement.
Yeah.
Even if you believe the figures, she can run a number in the 70s here, which can win this race. So you don't even need to use that caveat of the first time. And listen, I've got her third and could easily have had her higher in there. Did we not show Moon Heist? Did we show Moon Heist race? I wasn't even paying.
I wasn't paying attention.
No. Now it's done. We don't need to show it. Let's show Busting Scones. This is Busting Scones race 2 back. Bustin' Scones ran very well in this race.
She did.
And
I don't know where it came from.
I don't know where it came from either, but this was a good inside. She was never near the rail, and she ran. And if she were running in this race off of that race, without the last race, you would have her second because you're going to pick the 7.
Yeah.
But you would have her high up, and so would I. I don't know what happened last time I watched the race. She stunk in her next start. I don't know. Now, maybe she came back in 22 days, and now she's had a little bit more time. I don't know, but I know a race 2 back gives her a chance.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know what to do with her. I mean, the figure, the 2 back, makes sense for the winner, Cash Offer, who's a good horse. Girl of Tuscanova, I believe, is running back on Friday. It's a kind of an aberrational figure for her, too, that high number.
They have her wide, and she wasn't wide at all. She angled out. She
Yeah.
yeah.
So we'll see if Bustin' Scones can back up that number. Her race 2 back, I mean, last time, it wasn't a total disaster. She ran okay.
Ran okay, but nowhere near as well as she did 2 back.
Yeah, I just don't know what to expect from her.
I agree. I've got her 5th. I probably should have put her 4th in here. We'll see what happens. Sweet Meadow misses one. She just comes from too far back.
Yeah, there's no pace in this race, and she's just that deep closing type.
And it just feels like there are other horses that are going to be in front of her that are probably better than she is. Race number 7. I think it surprised both of us. We came off the turf for the last week here, especially with 1 MTO and really nobody to stay in the race. I mean, obviously a couple of people did us favors staying in this race, or we were going to have a match race between Financial System and Southern Bridge. Southern Bridge, I don't want to pick this horse. Yes, he's a little dressed up by being on a gold rail 9 days ago, and now he's coming back in 9 days. But he ran against a field last time that would smother this field, good trip or not.
He's one of these horses that I think they just made a little bit of an error in judgment running him on turf so many times because he's just a better dirt horse. I mean, he handled the slop 2 back, but he showed that he can take to a fast track last time. And he must have been working well prior to that last start because he was bet that day. I mean, he was like 4-1 for almost the entirety of wagering. Yeah, it was really weird.
The winner was a heavy favorite. And there were horses that made sense.
He was the same price as Giodoro for almost the entire duration of wagering. Yeah. That last race, it's going to make him tough.
And it was a pressured pace. I mean, you know, Giodoro was going after him. Giodoro would be 1-5 in this race, literally, and 1-5 and couldn't lose this race. I can't bet against this horse. I know he's a heavy favorite. You know,
he might not be the favorite because people are going to see those turf speed figures on Financial System and the fact that he's 1-for-1 on the dirt. I think they're going to be similar prices.
Here's Financial System's last race in the dirt. I didn't send his on the turf, excuse me. You know, this was a tough beat. I'm going to tell you, I've never been a big fan of this horse. He's okay, but I'm not his biggest fan, and people are going to see he won in the dirt. If he runs the race that he ran in the dirt in this race, I don't see how he can possibly win.
I actually left this horse out completely on the turf. I didn't like him in this spot.
On the turf, I like the other one.
Yeah, I liked the other half of the entry. I did not like this horse. I just haven't really, I don't think he's really stepped forward this year. And he needed to be competitive at this level. But it's a dirt race now. What I will say about his one dirt race back in October of last year, almost exactly a year ago, is that he was really geared down at the end of that race. I mean, he kind of just went clear, was winning for fun, and then they eased up on him at the end.
So he could have run a 68 buyer?
Maybe. I mean, but he was beating turf horses. I mean, Lemonist, who finished second that day, is just a turf horse.
Right, and the third place finisher just really can't run it anymore. The one thing I guess you say with Southern Bridge is he's probably not going to be in front because Everyone Loves James is going to likely be in front. And it's not like Everyone Loves James on the rail that his dirt race is that terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not betting him, but his one dirt race isn't so bad. He's obviously, though, much, much better on the turf. But in all fairness, his turf races were 11 months after his dirt start. So is it also possibly just improved?
I forgot this horse started out for Linda Rice. He made his debut for Linda Rice in that A True Giant maiden race a long time ago. Yeah, I mean,
looks like such a promising race at the time.
I know, right? And then it just, Ready to Escape is okay, but
A true giant is one of these horses, and people remember him, who had gait issues.
Yeah.
And
Severe.
did some crazy stuff at the gate and was scratching the gate, I think, multiple times. And I just think it just screwed his mind up.
Came undone. Yeah.
He just lost
Never got
everything.
back
Because
to
he
it.
really did run well in this
He really
race.
did, yeah. But that was a strong maiden race, and it's not like Everyone Loves James did no running in there. So, yeah, he probably is much more of a turf horse, but, I mean, I'm not going to be shocked if he leads them for a long way.
Yeah, and I mean, here, I'll put it this way. If the 5 doesn't win Southern Bridge, I won't be surprised. Like, I wouldn't have with an ABC and a pick 5, I would have everybody as C's and the 5 as an A.
Yes.
Because I'm not particularly thrilled with the 1A. I've got him second. And the thing about Rapt is his dirt race was an off-the-turf maiden 40, where he got a 59 buyer, finishing second. He was actually favored that day, which you probably looked up.
Really? Okay, yeah.
But
I missed that.
he wasn't really good in the turf yet.
Yeah.
So he's improved as a horse since then. I think that's what Bobby Robato looked, and he said, well, I'm not going to run worse than 4th. And Rapp was a very interesting horse in this race in the turf.
Yeah, I agree. He's just a much better horse now. I mean, he is a hat trick, and he probably is more of a turf horse. But, I mean, it's possible this is just not a strong race. I'm not going to be shocked, as you were saying, if any of these horses do well.
And I'll also make this case. He's going to be the rank outsider, I would guess, in this race. And the 1A is going to be no worse than second choice. Is he really that much less likely to win the race than the 1A?
Not based on their races.
Right.
No.
So I wouldn't completely discount him because he's a better turf horse than the 1A. And his one dirt race was early in his career, and it wasn't really significantly worse.
No, you make a good point.
I don't think that he's so ridiculous. If you know, we'll see. Like you, I think that the 5 will probably win for Bill Motton here, Southern Bridge. All right, race number 8. Another 4-horse field. We've got 8 in the last 2. The funny thing about the last race, there is something funny about the last race, and you've got the horse second. Why was this horse enter the dirt?
Yeah, it's funny. I was looking at pedigrees, and I was like, okay, wait, where's the turf pedigree? It's not the second generation. It's not the first generation. It's not from the sire.
The sire, for people that don't realize, is a half to
Lady Joni and Shackleford.
Shackleford, right.
That Otzi Dam. But he was just strictly a dirt horse, a dirt router who wanted to run all day.
And so was Canal 6. Canal 6 was Rick Violet, right? Was pretty good.
My Meadowview, yeah.
He was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he had some trips.
Actually, I haven't seen Michelle Nevin training any My Meadowview farm horses.
I don't. I haven't. It's Len Riggio. I haven't seen him run too many horses in general.
I haven't.
It seems like maybe just has some homebreds.
Yeah, but this horse just has a huge dirt pedigree. It's probably not a good sign. They entered for turf on a day when we weren't sure to come off, so...
Yeah, maybe the race came up and the horse wanted to go long, and Michelle said, let's throw it on. Maybe we'll get lucky and the race comes off. Canal 6. Oh, Canal 6 was Tom Morley. Maggie just texted me.
Okay, yeah. I think this is the first foal, because that horse wasn't running that long ago.
Text me back, Maggie. That horse was pretty good, right?
I think she was...
well, she's already whining that I didn't know it was Tom.
Yeah, she was 2 for 12.
I could really start abusing her now. I think that horse the horse started out 2 for 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like this horse was pretty good. Anyway.
Yeah, I think she was okay.
Isn't more glitter just
I
probably
put more glitter on top. She's going to get in front of these in all likelihood. We'll see what we get from the firsters, but her debut was actually okay. I mean, that was a good field. Irish Dancing, I know she came back and disappointed in a stakes, but she did run really well that day. And she's just probably going to win.
I don't want to spend a lot of time. I'm not a big fan of Courageous Girl. I know that Ice Princess ran that day, but she has disappointed me. She's obviously not impossible.
Terrible field behind her.
She's going to win this race if More Glitter doesn't show up and either the firsters can't run. I put Price Target second. I mean, the horse will be
it's not like she's got some huge turf pedigree.
Exactly.
I mean, she's a half to big thicket. It was a dirt horse, so.
Yeah, it's actually all dirt.
Yeah.
So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't leave the horse in. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
All right, David, thank you. It's good to see you. It's nice to be back. Spent a little time in Saratoga last week. I went to I got there on Tuesday, and the weanling sale was at
oh, yeah, I saw
Tipton.
you had tweeted a picture of that. Yeah.
It is, if you've never seen weanlings at a sale, or you've never seen a lot of weanlings, they're tiny.
Yeah, no,
I remember I first looked out and I went, wow, they're really little horses out there. Yeah. A couple of Practical Jokes actually sold really well. So
yeah, I've heard some buzz that he's doing well.
I don't know how you look at a weanling and go, I want to buy that one.
It must be based mostly on pedigree and how you see the confirmation coming along.
I
it's beyond
guess.
me. It's not my expertise.
But it was a beautiful day, and the whole world was there. I mean, it was a lot of New York trainers, but also Kentucky people. It was actually kind of cool, and it was a really nice afternoon. It was nice being in Saratoga for a few days and seeing my mom. Anyhow, Naira Bets. Head over to Naira Bets if you're not a member. NairaBets.com for more information. Bet 200, get 200. New member bonus. The promo code is FALL19. Today, 20 times points on all Empire 6 bets, and keep in mind the mandatory payout, of course, will be closing day here on Sunday. All mandatory, all pools will have to be paid out that day, but a mandatory payout in the pick 6 on the Empire 6. And Apple Pay deposits, they're fast and easy and secure, and they are now available through Naira Bets. This is your last Talking Horses?
Until Aqueduct. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll probably see the first weekend. Well, I don't.
Probably.
Because Anthony,
no, I don't think I'm doing the first.
Because you got Breeders' Cup stuff
Breeders'
going
Cup
on?
Stuff, yeah.
All right, and those Breeders' Cup pre-entries, I don't know if they're officially out yet, but I know they drew them this morning, so they'll be out at some point today. Look forward to seeing those and talking about them. And you can bet all of them at Aqueduct on Friday and Saturday. First post will be noon on those days, and I believe we're running 10 races on both of those cards as well. All right, that's it. We'll be on all day today covering the races on what's that racing? Is it America's Day at the Races?
America's Day at the Races, you got it.
Yeah, I'm really getting good at there you go. That's from 1 to 5:30 today. Anyhow, Larry Colmus up next with a reprise of the Scratches and Changes.